Welcome everybody to Mudflood was Armageddon. The Mudflood was the Armageddon. Don't let anyone tell you anything else unless it's like a flat earth nation, golden age past, things like that. Unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way, the Lord has provided an extra bonus time with RJ today. Hey brother, what's up?
Well, I'd say good afternoon, but it's afternoon where I'm at, but you'll have to be patient. It'll arrive probably.
You're probably in about 20 minutes. So I might as well just, let's do this way. I'm going to show at least one video, maybe more. This is your protectivity here because, they're nothing if not persistent on trying to bust it. Here's the picture for the homeschool, the Horace man, is that an, there's a orphan train.
Yeah, there's a variety of faces there, and mostly dark haired, but there was a few had it's a black and white, but
Looks like once again they occupied a city. It's a Star Fort city. But what's our here's a hint that they got the pot belly stove. I mean, that's not the original heating design for the golden age.
No, improvising, compromising.
Hey, Luther's not used to being on time. I mean, for me to be on time. I got something else here. It's really cool. Was there one more picture? This one was the one I showed this the other day. What's with all the tattoos? That looks like a paisley.
Well, or unless it's a really tight fitting, I don't know, bodysuit or something. But no, it's hurt. Yeah.
You had to used to get permission to get tattoos. You couldn't just go tattoo yourself. You couldn't just say, "I want to tattoo this."
Well, but that'd be a trick to do it yourself. But
no, it's not.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Maybe.
You know what you do? Because the small tattoo that I started and never finished on myself, what you do is you take an old electric razor, the Remington, the kinds that go back and forth,
Yeah.
You take the heads off, you just have the exposed parts. You split a toothpick, you'd use thread to mount that to one of the.
Okay.
And then and then you break a needle in half and you continue that same string. Now you've got the needle and the string combined to the razor's thing, and then you cover it down to the tip with the thread. You dip it in the ink, you tattoo yourself. Because it's just electric battery or a cord operated razor that now you're just going, I love mom. Or if you're a girl, you can look at a mirror and do a butterfly on your breast because it's so original. Just kidding. I knew a tattoo guy one time. He gave me a lot of good secrets. So any more?
Oh, without purchasing the professional equipment, you're saying you can improvise.
You're right. Well, they used to do it with sticks and thorns.
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
Well, it's another way of doing it or getting it.
How come this is written in perfect modern English? Except for the S, But besides that, I mean, skill, perform, face, hands, feet, curiously, valuable. I mean, that's our English.
Is there a date?
I was kind of looking for one. I saw they got a longitude. That doesn't. So no, I can't see a date.
Okay.
But this guy looks like What? He's from like the 1980s? Or I'm just kidding.
Could be.
It's fun.
Living the dream on some island, eh?
Hey, Whisper Jack. Do we know him?
I've seen some of this. Yeah, he's
topic is given priority.
Interesting.
Archaeological issues. He quotes a Soviet historian who says that these excavations in Egypt and Babylon were only interested to the bourgeois science since they could be linked to Palestine. In order to find the funding needed for these, historians have to prove that an ancient copy of the Bible could be found, or the sandals of Moses maybe, and then the monies were provided.
Oh, yikes. I should tell you at least, RJ, I'm showing this, and then I'm going to, be like, of course they added 1,000 years, and then you have to subtract that, that we don't really know what was going on in the golden age, the Middle Ages and all of that, so it's basically, this just happened when Jesus did. Anatoly Fomenko, yeah, he's smart, but he's pushing that Russian agenda. So that's what I'm showing this for.
Nero alleged that the House of Austrian dukes were the origin of. Petrarch throws that out because of the lack of proof. The modern historian, for the modern, professor, thought that the ancient Caesar and Nero were the contemporary existed at the same time as medieval Austrian House of Dukes, which only began in 1273. So that's a 1200-year spread. They would find that to be actually preposterous. However, at the time, medieval opponents of Petrarch disagreed with that because they claimed that it needed proof. Admittedly, I'm lost on that one. I'm not sure if it's
right, because Anatoly Fomenko is it's a confusing thing. You just have to know that they added 1,000 years. We don't know what happened in the Golden Age. Christ was crucified about 335 years ago in real time. There was that 1,000 years, but yikes. We'll get to it.
Before the 9th century. All of them are for more recent time, primarily the middle of the 13th century, and most of them are kept in many national libraries. The oldest one is the Book of Prophets, dated 859. One of the two second oldest is 916 AD and contains the books of the prophets. The other is dated to 1,000.
Why believe any of those books? Why believe Polycarp, Irenaeus, Josephus? Anybody that's writing after what we call Armageddon, 70 AD, not one stone on another. And yet there's people writing histories of like day to day, home to dome. And we're going like, I like this one and I don't like that one. How about you don't like any of them? And we like the Bible, and they're, we decide where we're going with that. I'm going to walk through these and see where you want to go, and maybe come back to this Fomenko thing. Have you ever heard of I did a search. Pretty sure I typed in Keep Austin Weird movement. I didn't go far. I just said, let's see what Wikipedia says. They're trying to apply it to 220. Wrong. I heard about it in as early as 1990 at a wedding from Peter Harper, one of the John Birch families that founded Christian Liberty Academy satellite schools. We were at a wedding for Christine, the second daughter of Dr. Lindstrom. And she told me that they were, before they converted back to Roman Catholicism, that they were trying to help with the Keep Austin Weird City. And I thought, well, that's weird. So it stuck with me. Here's what they mean by, Keep Austin Weird. This guy, he's got his own Wikipedia page.
Well,
that's keeping. That was in like.
So is this guy's name Austin? He looks weird.
No, this is Albert. Albert, beloved Austin local. Albert, okay. but they call him Leslie. He's a cross-dresser. He's an outdoorsman. Well, an urban outdoorsman. Is that him? No, because he's dressed like a man. But outspoken critic of the treatment of the homeless people. This land is your land. This land is my land. That's a bonus. I also typed in normal school, so you've got that to fall back onto. Uh-oh. I think I accidentally erased the Keep Austin Weird movement. Maybe something else will pop up. So Horace Mann started the normal school movement. This is a search bar. Sometimes people want to do their own research. They had, this looked interesting, the East China Normal University. Uh-huh. That's cool. What is that? A normal university? Dutch in East Indies? Anyway, I didn't get suckered into that. I kept moving on.
Looks like a teepee for the local natives, or what?
Royal Flemish Academy of Belgian and Science. This one, the TP goes back to 1772, falling right in our wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Normal schools. Can't wait to go over this. Primary schools, pedagogy, curriculum. Argentina, United States, and Canada. We're free, white, and proud. We were freed slaves. We wear the Phrygian cap. We got the red, white, and blue. And if you can just ignore all of the genocides and say things are working now, then hey, things are working now, kind of. So this will be very interesting. Normal schools in the United States, in case we just need a list. I saw Prussia. There it is. Prussia's a big part of this. Did you know that? Supposedly, I'm going to go over these. And this led to the creation of the common school. There's the common school movement. I must have like right-clicked that and said, give me a picture I could use as a thumbnail. Maybe. Something like that. Prussian education model, they were built on it. We heard in Listomania, one of the lyrics yesterday was, from the mess to the masses. They provided them food, and given the right opportunity, I would sit at a desk and learn anything for food. It would seem like, you're paying me to learn this for food? I'm in. Wait, I already did that. Okay, Prussian education system. We'll look at that. Horace Mann, he's the man. Common schools, whatever this is. Oh, shoot, I had it. This is nation building. I'll just touch on this for a second. Here's our common history. RJ, if you have any problems, we'll have our time here. After the Soviets left, the Taliban established de facto control of much of Afghanistan. It tolerated the Al-Qaeda forces that carried out the September 11, 2001 attacks on the World Trade Centers. NATO,
allegedly.
Allegedly. Is this a complete sentence based on what we've read before? NATO responded under U.S. leadership.
Okay.
That's a quote from The Love That Dare Not Speak Its Name, I guess, or even in full sentences.
Well, there's a comma that, in that.
Yeah, but this is a period at the end of this United States 9/11 attack. After December 2001, so this is not that long afterward, after the Taliban government was overthrown, the Afghan interim administration under Hamid Karzai, it seems like only yesterday, the International Security Assistance Force, ISAF, was established by the UN to help assist Karzai to provide that basic security. Well, let's see how that worked out. After 2 decades of civil war and famine, they want to know which particular one. Well, all of them together. It had the lowest life expectancy. Well, they don't want to have to list their citations. And much of the population are hungry. Many foreign donors, 51 in all, started providing aid and assistance to rebuild that war-torn country. Norway had charge of whatever this is. it just didn't work out. 20 years long, they went in to disrupt Al Qaeda. It turned into a 20-year-long nation building. Did I already look at nation building? Because that's supposed to be pulled up. What'd you think of that? So far, so good?
Fly your flag.
Here's a postcard from 1916. The very earliest of the national personification. Oh, how they have not changed.
Does size matter?
Well, when you're eating too big of a Snickers bar, I'm going to guarantee they're only thinking about it going in, not when they have to deal with, how come I'm always constipated and I can't digest these huge Snickers bars? Belgium doesn't dress like that.
Well, this is 100 years ago, or over 100 years ago.
Cultural nationalism. Here's our Bible verses. I like it. Do you mind? Do you mind doing some reading, RJ?
At which point, hear the wonderful.
Yes, right there.
Hear the wonderful love of God appeased that when Christ knew what he must suffer in our nature, and how he must die in it, yet he readily took it upon him. And this atonement made way for his people's deliverance from Satan's bondage and for the pardon of their sins through faith. Let those who dread death and strive to get the better of their terrors no longer attempt to outbrave or to stifle them, no longer grow careless or wicked through despair. Let them not expect help from the world or human devices, but let them seek pardon, peace, grace, and a lively hope of heaven by faith in him who died and rose again, that thus they may rise above the fear of death. The remembrance of his own sorrows and temptations makes Christ mindful of the trials of his people and ready to help them. He is ready and willing to secure those who are tempted and seek him. He became man and was tempted that he might be every way qualified to secure his people, seeing that he had passed through the same temptations himself, but continued perfectly free from sin. Then let not the afflicted and tempted despond or give place to Satan, as if temptations made it wrong for them to come to the Lord in prayer. Not soul ever perished under temptation that cried unto the Lord from real alarm at its danger, with faith and expectation of relief. This is our duty upon our first being surprised by temptations and would stop their progress, which is our wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not like I don't read books. It's just that when I read some of these commentaries, it's not like, I know Matthew Henry's the simplest one, but I like it. My wife used to like it. We used to always have it out. And I think, what I like about it the most is it doesn't claim to be scripture that people should go like, oh, we should read this, because there could be a mistake in it somewhere. I didn't see any. Did you like that?
Well, it's like a synopsis of this
verse right here. It's a synopsis of, I'll read it in the Berean Standard Bible. Because he himself suffered when he was tempted, he was able to help those who are being tempted. That's interesting, because right before that, he said, for this reason, he had to be made like his brothers in every way so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in service to God in order to make atonement for the sins of his people. That's a big deal. I mean, with everything else going on, we're always worried about, oh, am I being obedient enough, and stuff like that. It's like he's got it a done deal because he was able, he suffered through all these temptations, and it's not like we don't know what he's talking about, right? We all been tempted. Hebrews 4:15. He's going to just keep pounding this. I'm not. For we do not have. Okay, this is what the high priest does. Even the high priest, who's supposed to be watched all the time, and he knows he's being watched. So I imagine he's trying to be, when things are going good, a real good high priest would try to be doing really good. But in every respect, he's tempted. Jesus was tempted without sin, but not human high priests. But he can sympathize with us. Jesus can sympathize with us. Tempted as we are, or they were, and I guess we are still, yet without sin. So Jesus, he is, verse 14 said, he is we have a great high priest. It's Jesus. I don't feel like I did.
And as far,
I heard that one. You want to take this one? Let's do it.
Well, I just wanted to count. It isn't like you don't get critics that'll comment on, godly anger as it's being carried out, or there's always a critic that's gonna say something about that they're trying to make a point, which is a useless point, but that doesn't mean they don't attempt it.
Yeah.
So
they got a couple of ways of going about it.
The tables of the money changers, and that's supposed to be
Jesus being angry and sinning not.
Poor behavior. But when it comes to godly anger, because we are speaking about Emmanuel, or I am, that if there's no reason to be that type of a critic in my mind, but you do encounter it.
Yeah, and when they want to come and criticize me, they'll say, I want to tell you something in love. Well, usually it's like, okay, this is gonna hurt. You know what I mean?
Well, it may, yeah.
You want to take this one? Pick a. This is Hebrews chapter 5, verse 2. Because now, let's see. Now, this is the every high priest that's appointed among men, this Bible verse. I think that the Berean standard is closest to your, beloved American translation. Yeah, the Beck translation.
He, and I believe they're talking Emmanuel, is able to deal gently with those who are ignorant and misguided, since he himself is beset by weakness.
That's like even the high priest. Go ahead, let's pick it up in verse 3.
That is why he is obligated to offer sacrifices for his own sins as well as for the sins of the people. No one takes this honor upon himself. He must be called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not take upon himself the glory of becoming a high priest, but he was called by the one who said to him, "You are my son. Today I have become your father."
Wow.
And in another passage, God says, "You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek."
He must be called by God as Aaron was. So let's face it. Okay, we have one more, but let's face this fact. No, you don't have to be met by your younger brother saying, "I just chickened out for speaking for God. You're the man." Okay, because basically that was Aaron's first calling. And he was going like, "What?" So there's calling. It has to be from God, and you have to recognize it, right?
Well, I would hope you recognize it if indeed you were called by the Lord. Yes.
We started with Hebrews 2:18. one occurrence from these words, and that's, you can tell when it's a strong root word, but it is still suffixed, prefixed, dangling participles. But that's a strong root word. One of them is for he himself was tempted. That's our Lord and Savior. And he had to suffer for it. It isn't even tempted. What is it? Test? Make proof of is like the strongest, that's how Homer used it, or some of these other Greek writers that were trying to tell you, hey, this Artemis is a stone that fell from heaven. We should worship it, call it a woman. Whatever. The original strong root word, originally to test, to try, which was its usual meaning in the ancient Greek. Nobody cares. And in the Septuagint, people care even less. The word means either test or tempt.
Okay. Like Abraham or Abram, or, with sacrificing Isaac.
I would have people believe what God says, and have it counted as righteousness to him. It's actually a work, because the world's going to be telling us stop believing that. Just a couple more minutes of this. You want some interesting pictures. So this Anatoly Flamenco thing, this was as released as Flat Earth. What's that?
Whisper Jack? Is that?
Yeah, I thought it was the new Mudflood Armageddon guy, but it's not. There's somebody Jack, but this isn't him. This is your standard Flamenco introduction.
This was a major dispute among scientists. The dating range was given from the 2nd century until the end of the Crusades, and they claimed to approve this date after 1962 when they did radiocarbon dating on the manuscripts. However, this, the author points out, is very unsuitable for the dating of specimens, because if the age falls within the span of 2 or 3 millennia, 1 to 2,000 years, then this is a span that is all.
Now, this is kind of what Conspiracy R Us was going on, is that they have a picture of it like this, and that looks pretty well spaced. They have a modern version of it, and it has an extra 1,000 years added to it. That's different than an I or a J being added to it in non-Roman numeral, but it's the same in a way. You agree?
Yeah, I concur. Yes.
Recorded human history. It's the widest brush possible. So these historians still argue about the origin of these texts. Many historians insist that they are medieval. Now he jumps into chapter 8, which I struggled with this one, which means I may struggle in relating this, but he is talking about difficulties with the alphabets and with the reading of these
Whisper
texts.
Jack.
When we try to read old manuscripts such as the Bible or ancient Egyptian stuff, historians run into.
So he's talking about the alphabet, but he's just showing Mudflood pictures. And we have learned over time to track them by their alphabet, of when they switched letters. Yikes. Hope that one has some good insurance before insurance goes broke. So these statues everywhere. It's weird. I get it. Was he riding a little steam train? Melted. It doesn't mean that this part was a building too. It just means the stones melted on these buildings. That's enough. You can save some of this. I do kind of want to get into the history of the normal schools, because why would you even need a worldwide normal
indoctrination process?
There really can be no other answer. Now, at the end of the Golden Age, the Institute of the Brothers of the Christian Schools, it sounds, Is that code for Rome and Rosicrucians? Probably. Founded what is generally considered the first normal school, but it wasn't really a movement. The term normal in this context refers to the goal of these institutions to instill and reinforce particular norms within students. Norms in quotes include putting on cheddar heads and cheering for the Packers in somebody's neck of the woods.
It may be common.
It's absolutely common. Norms included historical behavioral norms of the time, as well as norms that reinforce targeted societal values. There's that social network that you have to get a social credit score so you can get a Bitcoin. Ideologies, dominant narratives in the form of curriculum. Okay, we'll get into that more, but everybody's just dying to know, how much would they have to pay you to put on a cheddar head?
Yeah, what goes around comes around, yeah.
Have you ever worn one of those Packer cheddar heads?
Shall I go get it for you? It's just
I have actually tried one on, even being, not from that area.
But mine is a little more unique. I wore it, 30 years ago when we went to the Bahamas. That was the year we went to New Orleans when Green Bay beat the Patriots.
Would that be the start of? Was that the start of the Brett Favre peak? Hey, welcome everybody. Rocky Shepherd, Sergio, CIA needed opium. Rocky Shepherd, we're gonna get along good.
I would wear it like this, where it looks like I had a bullet hole, but it's the cap, not the wedge. And then it's signed by some Packer players back at that time. One was that kicker, what was his name? Ryan Longwell? Does that sound right? And then another one over here. But yeah, this is something from my archives.
I like it so much better than the cheddar head.
The wedge?
The wedge,
yeah, the wedge is
cheddar.
Okay, but I opted for the baseball cap.
Yeah, he really is the famous Randy from Wisconsin for a reason. And how could you not be a Packer fan when Satan
All we need is love. All we need is love.
And Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Well, but now it's all we need is love. Jordan.
So all you're going to need is a hospital, because your team is going down dooby doo. Reed Hall in 1823 trained the teachers to go out and try to, what their hardest thing was? Accents. Normal schools in the South deviated from, if I said I sprung a leak in my radiator, well, most people might know I'm trying to do a Boston accent, but
enunciating, yeah,
right. And so, why did people send their Chinese students and to the Midwest, to Champaign, the University of Illinois, the University of Wisconsin? Why could the University of Wisconsin get away with legalizing pot in 1977 and never looking back? Well, because they spoke normal, the closest thing to a normal language. China, this guy's there like, hey, we want to get in on the normal school building. Breaking chains much? They've got the gears. And how, people are like, oh, the Qing dynasty goes back to 1644. that's an unusually long, good run when we know so much more was happening from 1644 to 1912. We were talking earlier about 1911. Sometimes I don't know what we put on the air, what we've just talked about. The 100-year thing was what I wanted to make sure we brought up. Brought up in the 1600s. A lot of things with citation needed in this because the computers, they want to make it hard for people who footnote and, but I think we should be, Satan's loosed every 100 years, something big happens. 1911. Well, they invented the Colt 1911 and a lot of repeating rifles based on that. And they're ready to go to war. 2 years later, the creature from Jekyll Island was ready to make sure you wanted to, what's in your wallet? Don't, only your friends have to ask. The government already knows. Is that a good one, RJ?
Probably works for most. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody has to go like, I wonder what he's talking about that time. That could have been economic, if I didn't have all of this other baggage of like being called by God and then like remembering, volleyball took up so much time.
Yeah, it's time consuming. Yeah.
Europe has normal schools. Germany has one. But we can thank them for the gymnasium movement, which brought us to Campfire Girls, the YMCA, and the Who Wears Short Shorts. Finland had normal schools. France, Italy, Lithuania, Serbia. You've heard of the United Kingdom, I'm sure. We're not talking about West Winchester. We're talking about man chasers from Winchester Cathedral. You're breaking me down. Now we know what that is. China had them. Indonesia, all about, hey, World War I's over. Let's do it. We're all in our eugenic war. We're going to gear up and we'll see who wins and we'll all have normal schools. I think they thought their one world government was going to happen then. Then they thought it was going to happen in 1946. And then they think it's going to happen again in 2046. But oh no, that's Gog Magog, fire from heaven. Boom, shakalaka. This looks like I go to a normal school that looks like this, RJ. But it's in Colorado.
Yeah, it looks fairly normal. Probably
we got to put a dome on top of ours.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
There's Japanese one. I guess I'm showing the pictures now. Griffith. Okay. That must be from around either LA because there's that Griffith Observatory. But they're not as the grand big Star 40 ones.
Boarded up.
Can't afford to heat them anymore, man. Who knows? Michigan State Normal School. That was a castle. That's a big one. Here's a signed county normal training school, certified you could get a diploma. The nations, considered themselves qualified to say you're approved. 612. 612. Or is that the 11th? Yeah, 11th. Huh. There's your normal Texas school board. Okay. There's a couple of guys dressed as girls. They were the first normal school people. And this, men had no problem dressing as women. They didn't even let them do their plays and their theater. Am I beating this dead horse? Indiana Fairbanks Dome, they did not I think they found these in a kit somewhere and just put them up and decorated some already buildings, because this is wood. Looks like wood to me. No, it's not. I see a slotted thread on that one and that one. This is probably decoration or a rivet. Who cares? I guess everything's a rabbit trail. This is what it looked like. This is like,
yeah, I recall those style desks.
yeah, when I was in 5th grade, there was we didn't have that many students, but my 4th grade sister sat next to me while I was in 5th grade. 5th grade had 2 rows of people, like 8, and then there were 5 or 6 6th graders on the other side in what would be this empty row. So yeah, we had about pretty close to the same number if nobody's at those desks. It wasn't that long ago, people. And Christian Liberty Academy, I think, was a normal school, but now it's a high school. We looked at these are ones in the United States. Not too many in 1849. New Britain, Connecticut, see, that doesn't have the same brick style. So I don't think that's the big push of the whole world was in on it together. The mafias of the world were going to, had the plan from Satan, and it was time to do it. So they had a few. Now, that does look very bricky, but that's the one that says that it was rebuilt in 1896. No, the big movement, besides some of these, it started in 1911 through like 1922. That's what it would seem like. Now, Horace Mann and the creation of the common school, this had to happen also. The father of the common school movement was the foremost proponent of education reform after the Civil War in the South of the Union. He was an ardent Republican, like Abraham Lincoln, the Whig Party. Mann argued that the common school should be free, universal, non-sectarian, and public institution was the best means of achieving moral and socioeconomic uplift of all Americans. The rising tide raises all ships, they say. RJ, what do you got?
Well, so what you're explaining, he did not create a curriculum. It was just a concept.
But he was influential.
No, but with the curriculum, that's where you're going to get the normalization, whatever that, contained in, what is being taught as,
how they're going to decide.
More than just crunching numbers and speaking fluently whatever language you're versed in, but there's
like a campaign promise. You can promise all the moral and social economic uplift. I've heard those State of the Unions all my life, and they're just a bunch of bull.
Because a good portion of will be sports, basketball, being baseball, football, and then transitioning, from just men's sports to women's sports, and then now men in
goodness
sports. I mean, it's all
to where we are today, right? To where we are today.
I think you need to. Yeah, we're looking at it from this perspective, turn around looking backwards, not so much where things are going to be in another score of years, but it's a progression, transition of
famous people. Brother-in-law to famous Nathaniel Hawthorne, the famous author, and good. He was good. He was not one of that. I think he's good. His ideas reached far beyond the borders of the Bay State. A national spokesman for education reform, he wrote numerous books and edited the Common School Journal, a periodical that successfully spread the message that public schools should be more open and nurturing with a wider curriculum developed by that's your circular reasoning. You need professionals, we'll train them, and then they'll tell you what the truth is. It seems that Satan's plan, without God's help.
What you need to know, whether it's truthful or not, but what you need to know to be
all the news that's fit to print, decided by who? You know, that was
all the fake news you can trust.
So anyway, but somehow, if you have a disability, you know, especially troubling. I guess he didn't like him. Reforms, you know, because he was basically a eugenist. But he did want to help the deaf people, I guess. Let's wait. We'll keep that. Come back to it. I looked up the Common School movement. The education of the masses was basically,
you know, again, when you talk about, you know, schools, like to send, you know, there's tuitions, but yeah, if you're being educated for room and board, you know, everybody has not the same incentives, you know, where parents send their children and willing to pay the, you know, the tuition, you know, for that education versus those, you know, whether it's the orphans and, you know, where they're being educated for room and board, you know, and being, funded, somewhere else.
And how does a child know? Oh, we have mandatory education. What are they going to say? No, we don't.
I don't want to participate.
Yeah,
but
their dad might say, you know, we're supposed to pick apples today. That's why, as much as
child labor,
I want to warn people about the homeschool movement of today. It is still the only hope. But what you can't do is use the curriculum that we provided at Christian Liberty Academy Satellite System or the Abeka or any of them that teach America did no wrong. Use your homeschool time wisely and start, you know, the goal here is when I finish school, I'll have a curriculum. We'll see how that, you know, what the Lord provides.
I got to take.
So what we see here is the American education in the 1800s. Prussian model, Horace Mann, Common School. This is their history. Reverberate.
That was the call I was waiting for. The shower. They're just drying off now from the shower.
Okay, a baby shower or a wedding shower, I mean.
Yeah, right. So I'll catch up with you sometime soon. And you've been going, 48 minutes. So
okay.
Anyhow, I'm out of here. Much love and
thank you for joining in. I'm going to continue now with the well, here you go. The objects of this primary mandatory education determines its character and limits. That's the object of this primary education. These objects are to give to every citizen their information, the information he or she needs for the transaction of his own business, to enable him to calculate for himself and to express and preserve his ideas. Where did he get his ideas? That circular reasoning thing. His contracts and accounts in writing. Well, they did teach you how to write, add, but brainwashed you into Mom, American apple pie, kill a commie for mommy. To teach them to understand your duties more than your rights to your neighbor's country and your mommy who doesn't want to get killed by a commie. To know his rights, to exercise them with order and justice. Those he retains, those that he's allowed to keep. Keep those, exercise them. To choose with discretion the fiduciary of those he delegates. Okay, we voted this guy in or not, but so now you have to listen to him. And to notice their conduct with diligence, with candor and judgment, and in general to observe with intelligence and faithfulness all the social reforms under which he shall be placed. You ever hear of this guy? Thomas Jefferson? He liked the Prussian education system, and he said, we should emulate it. We should copy it. You should listen to our good friends, Nathaniel Hawthorne and Horace Mann. Because without the Prussian education system, which was a result of well, we know what was going on there, the French Revolution, off with their heads. But then when they said, you know what, you killed too many people, it happened too fast, turned it back over to Napoleon, and he said, you know what, we just kicked your ass. France kicked Prussia's ass, but we really love your education system, and it will really help with nation building. Nation building, which primarily is the Humboldtian education ideal from the 1800s, the early 1800s, combined holistically with their research and their mind to prove that anything but Christ should be taught in the schools. Its origin, foundations of a generic Prussian primary education system were laid out by Freddie the Great. You might have heard of him. Well, we don't even know if these people really existed. But this is what they're trying to give you, that, you finish your Volk school, your area, but now they're all intermingled. Something didn't work right. Was it on purpose? Well, Horace Mann and the Mann Schools, Massachusetts State Board of Education. Where would we be, First and oldest public lending library. They taught us how to do it. And the world did it. And you see what I consider the mess we're in. Somehow we need common schools for a tribe. And those who believe in Christ need their own common school without the brainwashing of the American. Could be made great again. There was a time when we didn't, use false treaties and poison people. What do we really know about the First Great Awakening, Cotton Mather? We know all their monuments are faked, put fake names on them. Something wrote a history, and Satan is in control. They had a steam revolution and they traded it for oil. Well, and how are things working out now in their nation building in Afghanistan? Remember this guy? Most of you don't, but to me I remember it. Nation building. Constructing or structuring a national identity. Like, you couldn't have a national pastime of baseball unless you had a national identity. As my big brother implied, I think we've proven our point that this is planned. You're not getting raptured anytime soon. Jesus is not on a life raft at the middle of Mercator's globe map waiting for you. There is truth to be found in one book, the Bible, the Holy Scriptures. We don't add to or take away. People want to add different books all the time. I gave an example the other day about some beautiful portion in the book of Esther. And one of the young know-it-alls wrote me and said, Esther's a book of Persian fairy tales. It doesn't even belong in the Bible. Well, they want to add to and take away. In modern day times, that means so they can accommodate the book of Enoch. Not going to happen. Not here. Not on this flat earth nation with its golden age past, because the mud flood was Armageddon. Me and my friends are never going to tell you anything else. We honestly believe 1 called, 2 chosen, 3 proving our faithfulness by, no matter what, having your best interest at heart. Thank you, Lisa Button, for stopping by. It's been a while. Everybody, she's amen, hallelujah, aho, aloha, arrivederci, ciao, sayonara.